Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
The president must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Whether you call it democracy or election result different from the real one, or transmission, transfusion, transition different from transparency. You are not far from the truth, but I hope the government will truly be a town hall different from Bala Blue. In 2007, late President Yar'Adua, in his inaugural speech, admitted that the election that brought him to office was far from being perfect, and subsequently set up the retired Justice Uwe's Committee on Electoral Reform. Whatever happened to the robust recommendation of that report that the appointment of INEC chairman, national commissioners, and resident electoral commissioners shouldn't be the sole prerogative of the president? Today, nobody is bothered again, and yet we expected an election different from Bala Blue. Anyway, that's our topic for another day. Even though, also, like the 2007 election, I'm aware that just like Professor Maurice Iwu's promises of conducting credible election, Professor Mahmoud Yakub's promises along the same line fell even lower than the expectations of Nigeria. However, because of the constitutional presumption of regularity in favor of INEC result as declared, I therefore congratulate everyone that has received a certificate of return, including Mr. President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, while hailing the courage and resilience of those that have proceeded to the tribunal. I say at the end of the day, may Nigeria win. I've seen videos of the president-elect visiting captains of industries, former military leaders, and some traditional rulers, either with the certificate or without. But I want to urge him also to extend this visit to both Christians and Muslim clerics in the South because of the fears entertained in some quarters over his Muslim ticket. Because we certainly cannot shy away from the fact that our country has been so fractured along religious, tribal, and language fault lines, which also is patently reflected in not only our national life, but showed massively in the voting pattern and the complaint thereafter. Let him not be like Buhari, who promised to belong to everybody and nobody, but ended up allegedly belonging to nobody but a few certain cabals. Anyway, no be me talker. While Tinubu is on his visit, I hope he has selected his team. He should immediately set out his economic team to ensure timely realization of his blueprint and realizable action plans and programs with actualization dates and timeline to enable us follow up and also determine KPI as he has promised to hit the ground running. Make it not be like Buhari when he hit the ground and started running away from the ground. Well, since Buhari is hardly aware of anything, I also hope he should be aware that there's massive suffering in the land, occasioned by his party's failure to fulfill their promises to the people. Even though his party no agree say they failed. But at least now, the intentional decapitalization policy of Emefiele CBN has for once united both the politicians and the people as complainants. Everybody complain, no money. Even as the Naira is falling headlong and the country has become so unsafe to live. So he should put aside politics and strive to truly protect and provide for both those that gave him 95% vote and those that gave him 7% vote, if you know what I mean. He need not be told that the country need to diversify its economy away from oil now more than ever before and truly ensure that NNPC is in words and in deed a profit-making ventures like the Saudi Arabia Aramco oil companies that just posted a profit of $161 billion in 2012. 2012, I mean to say. Also, with the prevailing economic hardship and the feeding bottle system of government we run, where states run to Abuja to share money every month, the reformation of the concurrent and exclusive legislative list and enhanced general welfare of the people deserve his urgent attention now more than ever before. We also cannot overflog the fact that his government need to create massive employment for our teeming youthful population and find way to not only export cassava, agbado, grains, and other agricultural produce, but also provide electricity that will enhance processing of these goods, boost food availability, industrial job creation, and improve manufacturing. Lastly, his government needs to ensure a statutory declaration that will ensure gender equality and participation in government, improve the security of lives and properties, and foster a truly renewed hope different from Balablo. May I also draw his attention to the fact that the undermentioned critical areas of our national lives need serious attention and revamping like yesterday. The Land Use Act, elevation of the value and dignity of the lives of every Nigerian above its current parlor state, fiscal federalism, state policing, fuel subsidy, our population census, local government, legislative and judicial autonomy, separation of religion from the state, issues of terrorism, kidnapping, open grazing and banditry. You name it. Don't just tell me the list is too much. Add your own as the team. Plenty. After all, he begged for the job. I will therefore advocate that until the incoming government builds bridges to unite, diversify the economy, and rekindle true hope in the people, and the people also putting their government on their toes to deliver on their campaign promises, soon we will not only be talking about a town hall different from Balablu, but our country will not be different from a Balablu. However, irrespective of our misgiving, we must collectively push, pressure, and work to make Nigerians succeed. Anyway, make I stop here for now until next week. But don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen and let us know if you agree or disagree with us. But in all, let's always be decorous. Lastly, I leave you with this. Never be afraid of your government. Instead, let the government be afraid of you. See you next week.
I don't know how to swim, but when they load me in the boat, we were like 155 people in one boat. So when we are going to Italy, we have run many hours. So on the way going, our boat now capsized because of the waves, and our boat is pumping boat. So when the waves throw in and they load us about 3 boats, 2 at the front, we are at the back. When the waves come in a big way and throw, it capsized our boat. 65 people died in the same boat with me. About 30 girls and 35 boys died in the same boat. So when they are dying, they are sinking down. Some was catching my leg, some drawing my clothes on my bag, shouting, "Biggie, Biggie, Biggie, Biggie." That's how I remove the clothes. I stay hanging, holding the rope that I'm holding on top of the boat. That's how. So after everything, all of us, about 55 people, well, 155 people, the people that remain on top of boats, maybe they are not more than 80 people again. So everybody was crying that we are dying, no rescue. From 4 o'clock in the morning, our boat capsized. We are on top of the water till the next 4 o'clock in the evening. On the afternoon time, a helicopter come on top of us to come down like this a little bit. All of us was crying, raising hand up. They now carried the newborn baby, one woman having over there, to raise it up, to raise the baby up in a way the helicopter will see the baby. So we are shouting for rescue, rescue. So all of us was crying. I said, God, is it today I will die on top of sea? All of us crying. So as we are crying, the helicopter, they wind up, but I believe that they will be seeing us through the screen. After everything, when the helicopter left, it's like they caught the police people in the area. The police people now coming with a small boat to come and rescue us. When they rescue us, they will carry us to the prison to go and lock us. And when they lock us there, the Nigerians that are in that very highland will come and bail us with like 500 dinar. 500 dinar. When they bail us like 500 dinar, like they were using in form of 50,000 Nigeria. They use it to bail us out. They will go and lock us somewhere. Our family in Nigeria, we can be calling our family in Nigeria to pay 150,000 in their account. Then we get like 100,000. They are using it to do business. In my life, even if they told me that Libya is like America again, I cannot try that country anymore in my life because I suffered a lot, honestly.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Ecosphere. I am Mary Kanu. Pollution is a major problem across cities in the world. You know, some of the world's biggest cities deal with pollution, and it's in fact on the environment and health of residents. Now, Lagos State, the largest city in West Africa and the 21st largest city in the world, is no exception, and the resulting effect is the suffocating mix of air pollution, single-use plastic pollution and solid waste in the city's streets, causing respiratory problems, floodings and other illnesses among the locals. Now, it is estimated that at least 30,000 people die every year in Lagos due to pollution. Now, on this edition of the program, we'll be taking a look at ways to solve the problem of pollution and improper disposal of waste in Lagos State. Waste-littered streets, open defecation, Air pollution and the likes are what residents of the commercial nerve center of Nigeria are faced with on a daily basis. In Lagos, environmental pollution is the order of the day. Residents deal with different forms of pollution in the city streets, leaving many with respiratory illnesses. Having lived for many years in this area, the Itire-Surulere local government area of Lagos State, some of the residents say they strongly believe the state government does not care about their living conditions.
This area now have been dirty for so years. When I was in small self, I was seeing all this kind of thing, talk less of now that I've already been gotten hold. And still yet, the area is still like this. You understand? And I want government to come and do it so that it will be okay. So that water will not be flowed everywhere. And why? Even last month, self, a kid fell inside this water, this canal self last month, when there was rainy season then, and we do have power to bring it out.
In 2021, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu said his administration has spent over 2 billion naira on the rehabilitation of dump sites across the state, while another 1 billion naira is being invested to provide the necessary infrastructure for waste management. If these projects have been carried out, residents are yet to witness the results or see an improvement in waste management.
You see all these diseases coming. Now, we're seeing recurrent cases of Lassa fever. Lagos is not spared. Of course, the rats go there, eat, pick jams, transfer to people, and then the same thing now we're having monkeypox. So in reality, if we deal with the challenges of waste alone, I am sure that our health system will be good. Our health itself will be good. Now, when you now get to the waterways, plastic floating, dead animals floating, dead human being floating, microplastic dropping into the water, fish swallowing them, we eating the fish. It's a scandal. It's honestly a scandal. I think the more we put attention to the challenges of the environment and how waste is handled in this part of the world, the better for us. A mega city, 25 million people, still counting, and we cannot get waste right, waste disposal right. We're not ready.
The drainage system in Lagos is very bad. We've seen cases where vehicles, humans, and other materials worth billions of naira have been lost or damaged due to drainage. This is one of the things that we are decrying in Lagos. Unfortunately, when this drainage, when this flood water make contact with feces that have been deposited as a result of open defecation, these feces make their way into water bodies, open water bodies like wells, where Lagosians get their drinking water from. Lagosians end up consuming water that has been contaminated with human fecal matter, sometimes fecal matter from animal dungs and all other contaminants. They end up being consumed by humans, and of course these humans come down with several waterborne diseases. Unfortunately, we end up having cases of diarrhea, cases of cholera, hepatitis A and E, and many other food and waterborne diseases. I've practically seen cases where people also have their food stuff, their fruits and other things they sell, edible commodities, fall into gutters, fall into flood water, and they still pick it up and sell it to Lagosians. These are some of the things that are causing the myriads of diseases that we see in Lagos year in, year out. Have you wondered why Lagos is the epicenter of disease infection across the length and breadth of Nigeria? It's because of the poor drainage and the poor disposal of waste. Unfortunately, these are the things that we are experiencing in Lagos. This must stop, and for this to stop, we must improve our sewage disposal, we must improve the disposal of waste materials, and we must limit air pollution as much as possible.
Environmental pollution is not the only challenge residents face as a result of improper waste disposal. The arising issue of climate change a resulting effect of human activities has upset the balance of nature.
We have household generated waste, from our consumption and every other thing. We have the industrial waste, the ones that comes out from the big country industries. Then we also have the clinical waste, that's the one from hospitals and from clinics, which are very, very sensitive. So the way we handle them, there's a protocol in terms of the way we handle them. Their disposal, where we dispose them, how we dispose them, who disposes them. It has its own protocol. Then also we have the other agricultural waste, the ones that comes from animals and others. Now, this waste, how we manage them is very important, because if we do not manage them well, they come back to affect us as humans and all living things that actually live within the environment, both humans and plants, if the waste are not well managed. So, obviously, when waste find their ways into places where they shouldn't, like the drains, the drainage lines, of course, they block the drainage, and whenever rain comes, of course, we have flooding. And, in flooding, there are different types of flooding. So the one that waste usually creates is the flash flooding, okay? When the drains are blocked, when waters cannot flow well, so of course, the water comes back on the streets, and they come back to meet us in our homes, and then we have a flooding, which affects people. Our recycling activities is still very poor, because there are a lot of opportunities that comes in if you have a good waste management system. But we are still moving. We are not moving, we are actually still crawling. We have not actually started, okay? So a lot of this plastic waste, they are not well disposed. They are not disposed of properly, and they find their way into the drains. Some even find their way into the waters, that life in waters is not even safe anymore. We have had situations where waste was ashore, and when they open up this waste, they see a lot of plastic waste in there, right? So at the same time, within the community, these plastic waste find themselves in all the drainage. I can tell you, in Lagos State today, anywhere you find yourself, just open up the drains. Just open up the drainage system if it's covered. If it's not covered, it's obvious there, And you see a situation where when rain falls, a particular line of the drainage system, you see that waters are not flowing along that line because it's blocked. Okay, people even have this habit of constructing this metal to block this waste from coming into their own part of the road. And so this water comes onto the road, and we have a flooding. So they are a major cost, especially the plastic waste.
Well, we'll take a break here, but when we return, the program will continue. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about resolving the issues of improper disposal of waste in Lagos State. According to the World Health Organization, making the environment healthier can prevent about 13 million deaths yearly and avoid 13% to 37% of the world's disease burden. Lagos State generates 13,000 tons of waste daily, but not all of the waste ends up at designated dump sites. Some end up in canals, drains, and on the road.
Okay, we collect this waste from the household. When you collect this waste, we put them together. Then the process, we try to separate the waste. Okay, ordinary, that's how it should be. You separate the waste. Okay, because there are some of the waste that are recyclable, all right? So you separate them. While the other ones that will be going for total disposal will be the ones that will find themselves their way to the dump sites. Okay, so it's a process before it gets to the dump site. Now, the challenge where the government erred in three ways. One, dump sites are located away from the community. And when these dump sites are located, there should be existing legislations that restrict community development to that area. Okay, if a place is cited as a dump site, it's away from the city, and there's restriction in terms of urban development, because there should be some form of distance between the dump site and where habitable areas. Okay, because from that dump site, one of the worst chemicals that depletes the ozone layer, comes out of the dump site, which is the methane, and it is very, very harmful and dangerous. So dump sites are expected to be sited away from the community. Now in Lagos, we have a situation where dump sites are located or sited away from the community, but there is no restriction that halts urbanization to that located dump site. So, for example, there's a place called Yanoba. The place was located about 25 years ago, and it was far from city. But there was no restriction in terms of urbanization, urban development. Today, there are houses surrounding that dump site. So, health-wise, the people living around that place are not safe. That's one. The Olusosun dump site at Ojota, when it was located, houses were far from that place. You know, it's a place that in those days, because the methane, when the heat from methane starts coming out, you see smoke coming out. You think they are burning the waste. They are not. It's the methane that is reacting. All right. So you see this is from distance. But today, houses have been built around that place, such that people who are living there, they are not safe. The water system is poisoned. It's not safe. All right. Then the methane that comes out of that emits from that place, it's not safe for the humans living around there. So that's why I said the government have erred in that area in terms of restricting, in terms of putting in place enforcement so that people will not build towards that place. So the government have failed in that area. Two, in terms of management of the dump sites, usually in most countries, these things are kind of like privatized to companies who are genuinely involved in environmental activities, to experts who understands this thing, right? The government cannot do it alone. The government is expected to generate, to bring up, put up legislations. You know, they are supposed to be a kind of, they try to stabilize within the private sector and the public sector, right? But they are not expected to manage the dump sites. Professionals who understands the dangers and the kind of harmful chemicals that comes out of that dump site are supposed to manage the dump site. But here, an agency was created, Loma, to manage that dump site, okay? And those dump sites are not well managed. The third aspect where the government is not performing well in that area is the waste collection in itself. Now, we have in Lagos State, the collectors were registered, okay, fine. There were list of items that they must procure before they can be listed as one of the collectors, you know, like the trucks that the crop for with the waste collection trucks and what have you. Now, a lot of them are using trucks that are dilapidated. Some of them have trucks that are not enough to cover the area that has been allotted to them. Okay, and you discover that the collection is poor. Some of these trucks can't even get to the residence of a lot of the people living in the communities. So people have to converge at a particular point. Now, when they dump the waste there, it takes a while before the collectors, the trucks arrive there to pick up the waste. That's another issue, which is another environmental issue. So the collection in itself is poor. And you see some of these trucks collecting this waste. When they even collect the waste on the road, you see this part of the waste dropping on the road. Okay? And they litter everywhere. So driving to that dump site is another issue. And all these things, they have its, they have their effect, you know, and it has to do with proper waste management system.
In the second quarter of 2022, a global livability index report by the Economist Intelligence Unit ranked Lagos State 171 out of 172 countries in the list of most livable cities in the world, meaning Nigeria's commercial hub and former capital was ranked the world's second least livable urban area and worst city in Africa. While the state government says the continuous attitude of littering by residents results in the deterioration witnessed in the state.
Lagosians are trying also. They come here, they come from their community and come and give us information here. And you go. When you get there, it's true. One big man would have taken up, would have built on the drains. And they were afraid to go and talk to him. Even if they talk to him, they will come and report and we'll go. We'll have task force here that recover setbacks and chase some people away from wetlands. You know what wetland does? If you have heavy flooding like this, they settle there. That's where it's supposed to settle. Then when the rain stops, it will now start moving into the lagoon.
you will see grass is there again. But that does not mean that you have to go and build there. It's low. There are areas we have in Lagos here are not supposed to build. You're not supposed to live there. Ijarabadia is one of them. Shibiri is one of them. There are places in, Ketu there that you're not supposed to live. Yes, you will see greens, but you won't know that underneath that is water. So you're not supposed to live there. And so many of them, agility, all of them, you're not supposed to live there. Can't trace it here now. We should call the names where you're not supposed to go and live. There are wetlands, low-lying areas, below sea level. But because of scarcity and paucity of houses, people still go there to build. They won't build a story building and mansions, but shanties. And when it comes, when the flood comes, they will start shouting, "Hey, government, come, we are dying." They say, "You're not supposed to build here." Government duty is to provide a conducive atmosphere for business to thrive, for people to live, to make the city a livable city. That's our duty. If you have a bad road here, they will not call you to come. It's government they will call. We'll go there and check what caused this pothole here. Okay, let's check the drains. Drains is the first place to go. Is it okay? Okay. If it's not okay, get the FR people to come and clean it up, and then get the works, Ministry of Works to come and patch up the road. Finish. But government cannot handle all the roads in Lagos at the same time and provide all the drains at the same time. Gradually, these things will be in place. Gradually, we don't know. So we are responsive and responsible. We care. Government is established to serve the people. You are serving the people. You are not serving yourself. That's what we do.
Well, that's how much we can take on this edition of the program. Many thanks for staying with us. I am Mary Kanu. Bye-bye.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon route, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
I don't know how to swim, but when they load me in the boat, we were like 155 people in one boat. So when we are going to Italy, we have run many hours. So on the way going, our boat now capsized because of the waves, and our boat is pumping boat. So when the waves throw in and they load us about 3 boats, 2 at the front, we are at the back. When the waves come in a big way and throw, it capsized our boat. 65 people died in the same boat with me. About 30 girls and 35 boys died in the same boat. So when they are dying, they are sinking down. Some was catching my leg. Some drawing my clothes on my bag, shouting, "Biggie, Biggie, Biggie, Biggie." That's how I remove the clothes. I stay hanging, holding the rope that I'm holding on top of the boat. That's how. So after everything, all of us, about 55 people, well, 155 people, the people that remain on top of boats, maybe they are not more than 80 people again. So everybody was crying that we are dying, no rescue. From 4 o'clock in the morning, our boat capsized. We are on top of the water till the next 4 o'clock in the evening. On the afternoon time, a helicopter come on top of us to come down like this a little bit. All of us was crying, raising hands up. They now carry the newborn baby, one woman having over there, to raise it up, to raise the baby up. In a way, the helicopter will see the baby. So we are shouting for rescue, rescue. So all of us was crying. I said, God, is it today I will die on top of sea? All of us crying. So as we are crying, the helicopter, they wind up, but I believe that they will be seeing us through the screen. After everything, when the helicopter left, it's like they caught the police people in the area. The police people now coming with a small boat to come and rescue us. When they rescue us, they will carry us to the prison to go and lock us. And when they lock us there, the Nigerians that are in that very highland will come and bail us with like 500 dinar. 500 dinar. When they bail us like...
Many thanks for joining us on News Now at this time.
Appearing before the joint session of the National Assembly session of Muhammad West.
Let's read the ECOWAS protest in Lagos. More people have joined the movement. This protest has...
Thank you for joining us today on the newsroom. The Lagos State Emergency Management Authority has said there's no need of one vote woman. And as expected, Nigerians will have different opinions about government
with 1.5 illegal spectrum frequencies.
The banks took over the wheels on the Nigerian stock market today as sellers eased.
Thanks for joining us on News Now at this time.
Appearing before the joint session of the National Assembly session of Muhammad West.
Let's read the ECOWAS protest in Lagos. More people have joined the movement. This protest has...
Thank you for joining us today on the newsroom. The Lagos State Emergency Management Authority has said there's no need of one vote woman. And as expected, Nigerians will have different opinions about government
with 1.5 illegal spectrum frequencies.
The banks took over the wheels on the Nigerian stock market today as sellers eased.
Thanks for joining us on News Now at this time.
Appearing before the joint session of the National Assembly session of Muhammad West.
Let's read the ECOWAS protest in Lagos. More people have joined the movement. This protest has...
Thank you for joining us today on the newsroom. The Lagos State Emergency Management Authority has said there's no need of one vote woman. And as expected, Nigerians will have different opinions about government
with 1.5 illegal spectrum frequencies.
The banks took over the wheels on the Nigerian stock market today as sellers eased.
for joining us on News Now at this time.
Appearing before the joint session of the National Assembly, President Muhammad Buhari took time to
mass protest in Lagos. More people have joined the movement. This protest has...
Thank you for joining us today on the newsroom. Lagos State Emergency Management Authority of SEMA. There's going to be
one vote woman.
And as expected, Nigerians will have different opinions about government of the rampant illegal spectrum frequencies.
The banks took over the wheels on the Nigeria stock market today as sellers eased. Thanks for joining us on News Now at this time.
Appearing before the joint session of the National Assembly, President Muhammad Buhari took time to
mass protest in Lagos. More people have joined the movement. This protest has...
Thank you for joining us today on the newsroom. Lagos State Emergency Management Authority of SEMA. There's going to be
one vote woman.
And as expected, Nigerians will have different opinions about government of the rampant illegal spectrum frequencies.
The banks took over the wheels on the Nigeria stock market today as sellers eased. Thanks for joining us on News Now at this time.
Appearing before the joint session of the National Assembly, President Muhammad Buhari took time to
mass protest in Lagos. More people have joined the movement. This protest has...
Thank you for joining us today on the newsroom. Lagos State Emergency Management Authority of SEMA. There's going to be
one vote woman.
And as expected, Nigerians will have different opinions about government of the rampant illegal spectrum frequencies.
The banks took over the wheels on the Nigeria stock market today as sellers eased.
Between the financial system and the larger economy. And the deficit in credit is much higher at the level of SMEs and micro enterprises. Then, of course, we have issues of financial sector regulation, which is extremely very tight. As I speak to you, cash reserve ratio is 32.5%, which is one of the highest. And these things have implications for what we call financial intermediation. That is the capacity of the financial system to mobilize funds from the deficit, from the surplus end of the economy to the deficit end of the economy. Then you have structural issues around issues of power, issues of transportation, railway system, and all of that. All of those things also are very big issues. Even though the current administration has done some work, they have spent some money, and made some investment in the area of road construction and to some extent in the area of the rail system. But the infrastructure deficit is still extremely very, very high. It is huge. So there is a lot that needs to happen around fixing our infrastructure. Because we need to fix infrastructure to be able to make the economy competitive, to be able to reduce cost of production, to be able to sustain businesses, especially in the real sector of the economy. Then, of course, we have issues around regulatory environment. The regulatory environment is extremely very challenging. Some of the regulators are practically intimidating people, coercing the economic players. Many of them are just after the revenue that they can make. And all of these things create an environment that is not conducive for investment. So the regulatory environment itself is not too good. And you have issues of subsidy, which has been creating distortions in the economy. We have serious subsidy problem in the oil and gas sector. There's a lot of distortions in that space as a result of that. A lot of corruption as well. an absence of investment, again as a result of the subsidy. Then we also have very serious subsidy problems in the foreign exchange market, which manifests in the huge gap between the official exchange rate and the parallel market exchange rate. That again is a major source of distortion in the economy and has also been creating all manner of transparency issues, all manner of corruption and all of that. So those things are not good for investments. Then you have security issues, you have issues of not having a level playing field. Sometimes when you look at the policy environment, you see that it's not quite a level playing field. You have some discriminatory practices around policies, around regulations, which are not very good. Then you have the issue of tax. The tax base is quite narrow, and which puts a lot of pressure on the few companies that are in the tax net. So there's a challenge of not being able to broaden the tax base so that a lot more people can come into the tax net, so that you can have a lot more of what you call fiscal consolidation. So these are some of the challenges. It's a long list, but these are some of the key ones that the economy has been grappling with under this administration.
Now, what key action plan do you expect from the incoming administration as first steps towards economic revitalization?
Well, what I will advise that the incoming administration should do right away is to, even before the swearing in, is to set up an economic transition team, a transition committee on the economy, so that we'll have, even before the inauguration, have some very clear direction and policy trust, which will derive, of course, from the manifesto of the party. But this time, something which is much more specific, which is much more actionable, and which is something that the administration can roll out within the first 100 days of its inauguration. So we need that kind of team made up of very sound economists, people who have very clear knowledge of what the macroeconomic environment should be, what the policy environment should be, what the regulatory environment should be. So it's going to be a mix of those who are maybe academics, technically competent, and those who also have very clear understanding of the investment environment. So having a transition committee on the economy, I think, is the first major thing which I expect the president-elect to have started to begin to do, even as we speak, so that we have very clear direction, clear pronouncements around policy, so that the administration can send very nice investment-friendly signals to both domestic and foreign investors. So those things are very critical, a very good thing. Secondly, is to ensure that in dealing with some of these economic policies, we also ensure that the appointments are right, round pegs in round holes. We make sure that we'll ensure that we have the right people in the right places, so that appointments are not particularly on very strategic ministries and institutions. Appointments should not be based on either partisan politics, political affiliation, tribe, ethnic. No. It has to be people who are very competent, who are very technical to handle such ministries. And they must be, and the administration or the president himself should give them that room, that space, that freedom to be able to come up with quality economic policies, quality regulatory framework, and all of that, so that the economy can move forward. Because once you have a very good team to drive the economy, that will drive a lot of confidence. And once you have confidence, you have a growth on investment. If investment is growing, you have GDP growth, you have more jobs. So the quality of economic governance is key. It's very key in delivering outcomes under the new administration.
Now let's talk about the oil and gas sector, because we all know how important this sector is to the economy. What key reforms are you expecting?
The oil and gas sector has been, bastardized. It has been crippled by all manner of bad policies, political interference, bad governance, and all of that. Absence of accountability, absence of level playing field. So if the administration takes on particularly the Petroleum Industry Act, which is an embodiment of all of the reforms that we expect in the oil and gas sector, if the new administration commits to the implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act, that will also go a long way. So those two critical reforms, at least, should be very high on the agenda of the administration.
Now, just before I let you go, could you share with us your insight into foreign exchange policy reform, trade, as well as taxation?
There are also need for reforms in the trade policy area, so that we have a much better environment for international trade, less bureaucracy in the trade process, less corruption, removal of all of these customs checkpoints, review of the tariffs to support trade, to make trade more efficient, and making better use of technology in order to ensure that you have better trade facilitation environment. And the Nigeria Customs must be made to commit to issues of trade facilitation, not just focusing on revenue. So trade policy reform is also a very critical one. Then we have power sector reform. The power sector reform that was done some years ago also still have a lot of gaps, a lot of shortcomings. We need to review it and fine-tune it properly to ensure that we're able to attract more investment in the power sector. Because as we speak, we still have very, very huge deficit in terms of power. I'm talking of power demand to power supply. The deficit is extremely high. And it's an opportunity just as it is also a challenge. So in order to attract more investment into that space, we need to reform it and make it a lot more investment friendly. Tariffs needs to be such that can attract a lot more investment in the entire power value chain, and the governance structure of the companies in the sector also needs to be properly reviewed, so that we don't have a situation where the power sector companies are also exploiting consumers. So for instance, issues of metering must be made mandatory for all the power sector players. But more importantly, is to have a reform that will be able to drive more investments in the sector. Then we have issues around the tax. The tax environment needs to be such that the base is broadened so that we can have more revenue. The administration of tax system needs to be a lot more efficient, with very little loopholes. And all those who are not in the tax net, we need a framework that can bring them into the tax net. Because our economy is peculiar, we have almost 50% of the economy in the informal sector. So if you continue to go with the conventional forms of taxation, like VAT, like company tax, education tax, you may not get much from that sector. So we need a model, a tax model, that will be able to bring a lot more people into the tax net. And that speaks to the need to move away from, direct taxation to indirect taxation. And that is what is even contained in the national tax policy. Then we should have sector-specific policies. And this will require engagement of each sector, because each sector has peculiar challenges that the government needs to address. Whether we are looking at ICT, we are looking at broadcasting, we are looking at the media, industries, agriculture, poultry, pharmaceutical, oil and gas, aviation, insurance, banking, all of them have different challenges. So the new administration should have a framework to engage sector by sector, and the outcomes of that engagement should be brought to the table of the president for proper deliberation so that there can be appropriate intervention, very quick intervention in all of those sectors so that this economy can move forward. So those are some of the things I think the administration should do. And all of these things I've outlined, I mean, they can be done within the first 100 days so that we can, put the economy on a very sound footing.
Well, Dr. Muda Yusuf, CEO, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, thank you very much, as always, for your time and your contribution. Well, we'll take a breather now, but Money Matters will be back shortly. To stay with us. Welcome back to the program. In the past weeks, more and more Nigerians have been facing increasing hardship, no thanks to the naira scarcity. Against this backdrop, Nigerians have continued to flock to cryptocurrencies to hedge against current inflation and circumvent the various limitations on naira transactions in online payments. But this is no surprise, as Nigeria was ranked 11th on the Chainalysis 2022 Global Crypto Adoption Index and 17th on P2P exchange trade volume. But to speak more on this development, Adedeji Adedoyin, Managing Partner, Blue Wave, joins us now. Thank you very much for your time. Now, with the naira scarcity, more and more Nigerians are exploring other digital and electronic means of payment, such as Bitcoin. What's your take on that?
Okay, thank you for having me today. Well, of course, people would naturally look for the easiest way to get things done. And one of the things we have to understand is that crypto is one of those channels that people would explore. So, of course, most people are moving towards digital payments now. And but then I think one key issue that we've had is reliability. How has this digital payments been reliable? So now there are two sides to this thing. The first side is the regular digital banking, which we all use. And then we also have the other side, which is crypto transactions. By and large, crypto transactions seems to be a bit more reliable in terms of you are sure you can transfer your funds, and if you get your wallet ID right and all that, wherever you're sending it to, of course, they will definitely get the money you're sending across. But the one thing we've seen over the weeks is that a lot of our digital banking platforms are not very reliable, which is one of the biggest issues we've had. And I think one of the key things we now need to look at is how do we make that better? Now, for crypto, the problem is we don't have enough platforms yet in the country that allows us to accept crypto payments. Okay, so for example, we have very, very, very few merchants that allow you to even pay in Bitcoin, for example. So I think that's still a challenge. And I think it's also based on the environment that we are in. So in all, it's a good thing that we are all embracing digital payments. And we hope that in the coming months, there will be frameworks in place to even make it more reliable. But for crypto, for now, it's still a bit dicey, and I hope that maybe in the next coming months, we'll definitely see some improvement also in using crypto for daily transactions in Nigeria.
The recent launch of the Send Globally feature by the US-based Bitcoin company Strike in partnership with Nigerian Bitcoin company BitNob now enables remittances from the US to Africa to happen at lightning speed. Now, what impact will this have on the growth of digital payments in Nigeria?
Well, in my own personal opinion, I don't think there will be any big changes, largely because it's a bit harder for you to convert. Even if you send me Bitcoin, the people you are sending money to, they need the money like yesterday. So even if you are sending it, if you are sending it via Bitcoin, they still need a medium to convert this money into probably naira or dollars. Okay, so for remittances, except maybe if the transfer charges are quite low, then it might be an incentive. But in all, I don't really see it as a big market, in the sense that there are a lot of remittance companies that allow you to probably just send money into Nigeria in dollars, which is pretty straightforward. So for crypto, except for because a whole lot of people, as much as we talk about crypto, is not still very wide use in the country. It's not very wide use in the country. So even if you send someone, maybe your village, for example, you send them Bitcoin, it's a lot. It's the process for them to get the physical cash is a lot longer than you just sending it to them, maybe in dollars, and they can walk into the bank and pick it up in the bank and just change it and start spending the money. So I think for remittances, it might maybe in the future, if there are easier ways to convert the money from Bitcoin to Naira to dollars, and there's more banking integration, maybe that could take off. But right now, our banking system is not integrated into crypto right now, based on CBN policy. So there's going to be a longer process, and I don't think most people that are expecting money from abroad will want to go through all that process to convert their money. But of course, it's a welcome development, and I think as we also move forward, we'll see things like this happening. But I think the question would also ask is that how big is the market for some of these things that we are proposing?
Now, we've seen that despite this push, there's still a cloud of regulatory uncertainty from the CBN. Do you see a change in the nearest future?
Well, based on, I will call it body language now, based on body language of financial regulators in Nigeria, I think we are getting to that point where they are trying to create a framework to allow cryptocurrencies to operate within the economy. And a very good example is the adoption of the e-Naira. Even though it has been slow and it has not been as successful as we had hoped for, but then the e-Naira is an offshoot of the cryptocurrency also. So in a way, I think we're already doing that. And I think some of the other agencies aside from CBN have actually expressed interest in creating regulatory frameworks to help cryptocurrency in Nigeria. But I think the bigger issue is what the CBN will do, because ultimately what the banks will do will be dependent on CBN regulatory power. So if CBN says no cryptocurrency trading in the banks, there's nothing really the banks can do. Okay, so one of the things we have to just think about is how then do we create that system in place so that we can allow cryptocurrencies safely within the banking system? Because one of the key things that has been the excuse of the banks and CBN is the illegal use of crypto for money laundering and crime-related things. But I think if we're able to create a framework that puts a bit of KYC in place, that's KYC like what the banks do, and you can link each crypto account to a specific bank accounts in Nigeria, then I think that should solve a whole lot of that. So I'm hoping that I think in the coming, maybe after the elections and maybe towards next year, we should see some positive lights in crypto related regulations in Nigeria.
Well, Adedeji Adedoyin, Managing Partner, Blue Wave, thank you very much for your time and your contribution.
Thank you very much.
I need to wrap on the program. Thank you very much for watching and see you again next time. I am Fulashade Ogurinde. Bye for now.
It's been 42 years now since St. Ambrose's Catholic Secondary School was established by the Catholic Church before it was taken over by the government. Several students have passed through the four walls of the school, just as several administrative staff have come and gone. But the one thing that has remained largely unchanged is the infrastructure and teaching facilities in the school. Year by year, things got worse. Classroom buildings began giving way. The classrooms themselves became inconducive for both teaching and learning. Things were literally in an abject state.
We have been managing teaching even when the rain is falling, the rain will be falling inside the classroom. We cannot abandon teaching. At times we mass students together when there is no conducive classroom. During the tenure of the past principal, Mr. Ogunbadejo Fola. So when he came to the school, he discovered that things will not be going on like this. So many classrooms are leaking, some roofs have even off, some buildings are collapsed. The parents are not able to do anything concerning it. So we be folding hands. Then every year, the roofing have been taking away a lot of money. So he now decided to go spiritual by calling upon God. So every Thursday of every month, we used to gather together, spending 30 minutes, calling upon God. So we look for the names of some old students. We got the name from one of the old students called KK. We wrote their name on the pieces of paper. During the prayer time, we raised the name up. God to compel them to come.
Either by divine intervention or mere coincidence, something happened. One of the old students of the school decided to pay a visit. Multiple award-winning journalist Deji Bademosi graduated from the school 26 years ago as the senior prefect of the 1994 set.
I went there to do a story on the dilapidated state of the school. And there's a project we're actually doing, a project that I'm actually doing, known as Track Nigeria, being supported by the MacArthur Foundation. So the whole idea for me initially was to go there and highlight the dilapidated state of the school so that I could call the attention of the government to the situation there and to see if the government could at least come in there to help address the infrastructural problem there. But you know, when I got there, and because that's the school I actually attended myself, I was touched. And you know, I just felt rather than just tell the story and wait for the government to do something, that at least I could do something to help. I was really touched, and I decided, well, that at least we could do some renovation. So the whole idea was, okay, go there, renovate, and that was how it started.
An engineer was contracted to commence work on the site, but little did they know that the structure required more than the planned renovation due to the severity of the damage.
When I got there, all the foundation was already above the ground level, meaning that you can even be seeing the foundation footing already outside exposed, which anything can happen. The building can collapse at any time. After opening the space for the column and the second day, you know, the building is weak already, even with the exposure of the foundation, I said. So one side of the classroom gave way immediately.
the only thing we could do to salvage the situation was to pull down the entire building and, you know, build a new one. And for me, that was something really huge. It was not something that I had actually planned for, considering the cost implication. So I summoned courage and I said, you know what, okay, you guys go ahead, pull the building down, we'll put up a new building.
It was a tough decision, but certainly worth it. The reconstruction officially kicked off in August 2019 under the direct supervision of one of the alumni of the school.
We left here like 26 years ago, and there was no any kind of maintenance since we left. So I supervised the building right from the scratch to where it is today, all to the glory of God.
As the new building started to take shape, it was hard to ignore the remaining dilapidated blocks of classrooms and abandon them to decay.
As one building was getting completed, I looked at the situation again and I felt, well, we can do another one. So I said, you know what, I looked at my pulse and I said, well, maybe I could just try the second one. And then the second one came down, the old building now came down, and we started work on the second one. And then the third one as well, you know, one of the old students there came to me and said, look, supposing I provide blocks for the foundation, you know, and then, you know, build it up to lintel level, would you be able, would you mind to just take it over from there? And I was like, okay, let's see how it goes. Because I knew it was going to cost a lot of money, but, you know, that was how the third building started. Then there was no plan to have a toilet. The school had no toilet. But then I felt, look, it wouldn't be nice at all to have these new buildings. You have the students there, and then they have no place to go ease themselves, and they have to make use of the bush. Again, I summoned courage, and I said, okay, you know what, let's put up a toilet facility there. And that was how the toilet facility came up. So right there now we have 10 toilets. I then thought, if you have a toilet, how then do you get water to service the toilet? And the school has no borehole. The school has a well that dries up during the dry season. And then, again, not planned for initially. Remember, I started by saying we wanted to do just one building. Not planned for. So I said, okay, let's get the borehole.
After the borehole, then came the landscaping and flooring of the school. As the school continued to get a facelift, it was almost unbelievable for staff and students who watched their wish become a reality.
It's a thing of joy to me. But on a daily basis, when I come to school, I have to look down and see the buildings, which is not common, it's one in town. I was made to know that there is no school that is having this type of building. No school. Is it the restroom? Is it the classroom? Is it the offices? Is it the type of furniture there? It is second to none, I must confess, and I'm very happy. In fact, about 5 teachers called me, sir, how can I get my transfer to your school?
And we start everything together. You understand? The foundation, the building, the roofing, the plastering, the painting, and everything. I was there with them, being one of the host students. By the time our students see what is going on in the school, they were all happy. You understand? By the time we want to do little works there, I have to call them. This is your class. You are going to use this class. So what can you people do for us? And they were happy in helping us. Packing sand, gravel, you know, all these things, little things that they can do with joy. You know, in fact, they were happy doing it for us, being their school. And I believe by the time we are going for a new section now, we are going to have more students.
I felt so proud that at least I could contribute in my own little way to this present development. This project is single-handedly done by one person, a God-sent person, who is not a politician. He doesn't get free money from anywhere. He works hard to get his money, and he's not investing for any profit. Like I asked Deji, because we said, bro, what are you even doing this for? He said, Maurice, I'm doing it for God and for humanity's sake. That look, I don't need all these students for anything in my life. I don't need them to survive. I don't need them to get to any position. But someday, my children might need them. It's a very good thing. It's really done well. I feel so proud to be part of 94 set. I feel so proud to be a friend to Deji Bademosi for all what he's done. And I feel so proud to be part of this project.
The school, which was once looked down on, has now become a point of reference and top choice for people in the community.
People passing on the road, they were actually branching to see that could a better structure be on this school with what they have been seeing. So look at the design, look at the space that we managed to get what we have, and a very spacious classroom, corridor with a staircase that can easy the going and coming of the students. So it's in fact, the facility that is there make it far better.
The only thing that makes me happy is that these students will now learn in a good environment. And this will also enhance their quick grasp of whatever has been taught in school, makes them relax. You are safe. They feel safe now. I think the last time we went there, we saw the building. I couldn't imagine how they could understand what the teacher is saying. But one, you're not sitting well. You're either standing and you're receiving your lecture, or you're sitting with somebody. But with what we have on ground, I think the student will be happy, will learn well in that good environment.
Many young ones now, they are planning to come to St. Ambrose. Before, you see some parents, when they are passing by, they used to say, that's what we used to say in our language. I myself then, I cannot say this is my school. But now, I can boast. This is the school I pass out from. So I'm very, very happy, and I'm using this medium to thank Deji Badmus for what he has done for our school. He rebuilt our school, and God will rebuild his life.
With the junior classes, also referred to as downhill, now wearing a new look, the school authority, in addition to their great show of appreciation, are appealing for the extension of this gesture to the senior secondary classes of the school as well.
Permit me to ask like an Oliver twist. If this structure could continue to the senior section, it would be very good. Not as somebody living in a modern building, coming to a leaking classroom, a classroom where there's no fan, A classroom where there is no, in fact, dusty, stinking, rotten chairs. The chalkboard is even not good. It will not be so good. Permit me to tell you that we don't have laboratories in the school. Every classroom in this school is leaking. It's dusty, smelling. I'm sorry I'm using these words, but if you care to look at them, you will not like them. So will it be for a student that is graduating from junior section to senior section? It will be demoralizing.
For the man who has single-handedly done all of these, his primary goal is to pass a strong message across to the government, old students, and the general public.
My hope and intention is that when the government or the governor, if the governor comes to commission this, that when he comes, he would at least see what an old student has done. And then that could serve as some kind of motivation for the government now to do something. And not just for the government now to do something, but also important for other old students to take a cue. I mean, those who have, been blessed to at least take a cue. And what I tell people is, I'm not a rich person, I'm not rich. It cost me so much. And, but you really don't have to be rich to do certain things. So as an old student, even if it's just a block or two you're able to contribute, that would go a long way. And also very important is that, people have always said journalists always take, they don't give. And this is to disprove that journalists we don't just report situations. So sometimes, journalism could make you do some very unexpected things. Do I plan to do more in the future? Yes, by the special grace of God, because to some extent, we are actually the government. So whatever, as individuals, whether individuals or collectives, not in government, whatever it is we can do to help make our society better, we should do it.
Niagara Falls is one of the most important locations in terms of what it represents to people of African descent because it's a border city. And as a border city, it literally represents one last step or one river for you to cross to get to freedom on the Canadian side. Well, my name is Saladin Allah. I am an educator, author, as well as a descendant of Josiah Henson, who is an Underground Railroad forerunner. A lot of my family went through the Underground Railroad and crossed over into Canada in 1830. So my family was gone out of this country for over 100 years until some of us actually returned. As a black man, I represent less than 2% of the teacher workforce in this entire country. So just by being in that space, I'm providing youth, not just children of African descent, but all children, an opportunity to have access to cultural enrichment that under other circumstances, they may never have access to. So we make sure that we teach about people within history who have done some extraordinary things. People of African descent, those who set foot here in America, there's always been a movement of resistance. So the Underground Railroad evolved from that resistance movement. And it took generations to create that network, but the network itself didn't become visible or popularized until you get into the 1800s, where now you have common people that start to realize that there's some mode of transportation that people are using and that's below the perception of everyday people. So it became coined as an underground railroad. Niagara Falls, as a border city, represents one last river for you to cross along that journey from the south to the north when it comes to the Underground Railroad. When you think about the Underground Railroad as a human rights movement, that was the first initiative that allowed us to have that sense of citizenry that had been historically denied us. Without that movement initially, you wouldn't see the effects of other movements such as the Civil Rights Movement, such as the Black Power Movement. Any of these other movements are just really the result of that first human rights movement, which is known as the Underground Railroad. The beautiful thing about the location where I'm literally sitting right now is that in 1856 in December, Harriet Tubman crossed over to the Canadian side across the suspension bridge. So what you're seeing behind me is a replica of that suspension bridge because it once sat right outside of our Heritage Center. Harriet Tubman was very important because not only did she help be a part of those settlements on the Canadian side, but she also returned many times into the United States in order to assist others on their journey to freedom over on the Canadian side. So all of the cultural heritage that we celebrate here in this area is a part of reinforcing our identity as a people, as well as our infinite potential to be self-determined. When you consider this country is only 245 years old, and when you look at that 245 years, from 1776 all the way up into the 1960s, there were actual laws that denied people opportunities. Those laws shifted the landscape where we live. And it also created a separation or a gap, not only socio-economically, but also a cultural gap. And it takes years in order to address that. So learning from the past gives us a greater insight into how these events were indicators of the type of things that we see that are going on today. And a part of my solution is to make sure that I leave this world a better place and to add more beauty to it. And then part of my way of doing that is to teach youth and to make sure that I help these children become the best that they could actually be.
Yeah, that's called lucid dreaming.
One of the most rewarding parts of my work is being able to assist children and them recognizing their infinite potential to be able to solve problems on their own so they can critically arrive at a solution. Whenever I see that, I see hope. I see confidence in a brighter and a more beautiful future. And it's difficult for a person to see that capacity if they don't see that capacity. So I think it's important for us to really look within ourselves and find out, regardless of what we do for a living or where we're at in our life, what can we do to help positively impact the lives of others? It's all of our responsibility.
And thanks for joining us on the newsroom. I am Simisola Adigun, and these are trending headlines at the moment. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has accused the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, of installing a third-party device to manipulate results of the February 25 poll in favor of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and its candidate, Bola Tinubu. Atiku lodged the allegation in a 66-page document filed before the Presidential Election Petition Court, sitting at the Court of Appeal in Abuja. Atiku and the PDP are first and second petitioners. The INEC, Tinubu, and the APC are first, second, and third respondents, respectively. The Kaduna state government has raised an alarm that some politicians in the state are planning to instigate their followers to embark on public protest aimed at breaching public peace. In a statement on Thursday, the Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, said that the state government has credible intelligence reports of such plans which include storming the streets in a manner that could lead to a breakdown of law and order in the state. The government called on parents, guardians, and community leaders to guide their wards against being used by persons who seek to prey on vulnerable emotions and volatile atmospheres to generate chaos. Days after the March 18 governorship and state assembly elections in Nigeria, the UK government says it is collating relevant information to take action against some individuals who engaged in or incite electoral violence and other anti-democratic behaviors in the polls. In a statement signed by the Senior Communications and Public Diplomacy Officer at Tinuke Akonde Alegbe on Wednesday, the British High Commission said actions such as UK visa ban will be imposed on such individuals. The UK statement comes 24 hours after the United States government also threatened to take all available actions against those who undermined the just concluded elections in Nigeria. The COVID-19 pandemic has worsened the challenges of accessing essential medicines for people living with non-communicable diseases. According to the agency's director of the Department of NCDCs, numerous pharmaceutical supply chains were affected in different ways and to varying extents. He added there is an urgent need to improve the transparency of overall pharmaceutical information ecology as a foundation for pandemic planning and response. The Federation Account Allocation Committee says it shared 722.677 billion naira among the three tiers of government in February 2023. FAC disclosed this in a communique issued at the end of its meeting for March 2023 in Abuja on Wednesday. The disbursement shows a decrease of 27.497 billion naira compared to January's allocation of 750.174 billion naira. A massive new gas pipeline to China could help reduce Russia's reliance on European buyers, according to analysts. The project was discussed during the Chinese President Xi Jinping summit with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Moscow this week. Beijing emerged as an economic lifeline for Moscow in 2022, especially through energy purchases after Western sanctions over Russia's invasion of Ukraine cut off crucial trade links. In sports, Villarreal and Nigeria international forward Samuel Chukwueze has been nominated for La Liga Player of the Month for March. This follows Chukwueze's impressive performance for the Yellow Submarine side. Villarreal picked 7 points from 3 La Liga games in the month. The 23-year-old has also assisted 3 of the 6 goals scored by the club in March. That's the latest on the newsroom at this time. Thank you for watching.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
The president must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
In terms of settling down, does age affect the chances of choosing the partner you want? In terms of settling down, does age affect the chances of choosing the partner you want?
It should be the choice. I think it should be the choice.
In which way? Me as female, I date a younger person.
I feel
like
as a female, like, as in is age a factor in you
deciding
getting what you want?
To, yeah, who you want
to get married
Meaning, can I get married to a younger man?
No. Like, for example, as you grow older, for example, now, your chances of getting who you really want becomes slim.
Okay.
I don't think it plays like that for a man.
For a man, yeah, it doesn't.
Is it for a man?
But it's for a lady.
For ladies, I just feel like you don't. For ladies, you can say that yes, we have the, how do they say it? It's not in our favor. You get. It's more in guys' favor. You see guys in late 40s, just getting married, mid 50s. Yeah. But for women, you understand? They're like, oh, you think about your biological clock. You think, oh, maybe can she, still be able to have kids and everything. So you understand? So most times when they get to a particular age, they start getting pressed like, oh, like, let me just look for one and just settle down or something. You get.
I even think like
sort of just settle for anybody they say.
No,
not like they settle.
No, I'm just saying that for them.
It's just that.
Like, older women settle now. They settle at the end of the day.
They don't. I don't think they're going to settle now. There is easy.
I was about to say like
you can freeze
modernization,
your
like
you freeze your eggs. Yes,
it's quite easier now.
It's quite easier now.
And again, people like have a liberal mind now.
Liberal mind, and in fact now, now more people are more, maybe because people are now more open, and then they, civilization and everything. People are now seeing that you don't need to rush to anywhere. Do you understand? Actually. Okay, so and then because of what is even happening right now, like people considering marriages where people, you rush in and then you rush out. People are like, no, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to wait to get married to the right person. You understand?
I'm not negating the fact that
At
some
30
people are
at
still
37,
rushing.
38.
Yes,
You are still taking your time.
Yeah, that's why.
As a woman.
That's why. See,
I'm not saying that maybe she's trying to be picky, but like maybe I'm not saying maybe at that stage that maybe she's saying, oh, I don't like this song. Oh, maybe for petty reason. I'm saying maybe at that stage, maybe she has not gotten anybody. She's not going to go and meet any random person and just go and.
But anybody that approaches her, she would agree.
Wrong.
No, that's what I'm saying.
No.
She's not just going to just because any random person comes to.
Yes.
So you think that
she could. That's what I'm saying. Medicine has made things easier and science.
You can
so
freeze
she
your
could
egg.
freeze her egg and she's not worried about her age to give birth.
Is that the only thing women worry about?
It's part of the thing. That's one of the major things in
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
That's one of the major
or
things
in
that
Africa.
people worry about is their biological.
It's the truth.
Unless you don't want kids.
It's the main thing.
Because
in-laws, your in-laws will say, why won't marry this babe? She don't she don't feel give you picky, she don't give us grandchildren. So that's just
the only reason why you don't feel married.
I mean major thing. A major thing for Nigeria.
But what of you?
Me, for an older woman. If I like the older woman, I'll get married to her. There are ways we could look for a child.
So if she's like 50, can you get married to her?
No, 50 is too much. There's a considerate age. I can't.
Considerate age?
What
of
the truth now?
What do you mean considerate age?
Huh?
45.
No. I'm going to be 34. Let's say a lady 40. Yes, I could.
6 years.
Yes, I could. But above that, that's.
What of 41?
No, I say I'm telling you the age.
41, she just left now.
It's the same thing.
Even that 40
you get
almost 6 years difference.
So that's
Shay, what about you?
Almost is a no. Forget that.
Which age? Like what of a year older?
Maybe my max now 3 years. Max 3 years older. Max.
Everybody has his own thing. So
max.
But you should at least consider 41. Should still.
How you go consider
the 41 I don't consider.
The 47 we go still talk am well. You don't feel consider 40.
No, but 40 is cool for you.
It's cool.
6
but
years.
I just feel like the most important for men, the worry for them, for women, is the fact that one thing they're scared about is their biological clock.
Yeah.
Menopause and all those kind of things. Do you understand? We all know that is aside. If you're not worried about it, that means maybe you don't want to have kids.
Exactly. Maybe you just want to adopt, or
you want to adopt, or you want to do surrogacy. If you've frozen your eggs, you understand. So that's just the thing.
But you know another funny thing in Africa that we made it look like as if it's a woman thing. It also affects men. Getting married at a very...
It doesn't affect men as much.
I want to explain to you what I mean by it affects.
Wait.
I'm not saying men
drop their standards.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying this. You imagine you getting married as a guy. You're wasting time. You're getting married at 40, 45. So let's say by the time your child will be... Wait,
doesn't mean that it was wasting time.
I'm not saying you're wasting time. I'm saying you're taking time. Wait. That is still the same thing. We're only just talking about ladies at this thing. Okay, you're taking time, and then you finally get married or get settled at 40 or 45. So by the time your first child will be like 10 years, you're 55 years. So when would you stay to enjoy your kid?
You still enjoy him now.
Like how? As in you're already old. Is it at your old age you want to enjoy your kid? Or at a younger age.
Like
so people get married as
early
as 25 and they don't have any 45, 50.
What would they do?
That one is a different case. That one is a different case.
I'm just saying that.
And even at that part is because maybe they've not explored other options to get kids, or maybe they don't have the means to get kids.
Yes, so you want to tell me that?
And people have tried IVF how many times?
Even if you don't work, then you adopt.
We all know how adoption is in Nigeria. Adoption is very, very, the process is long.
Tedious.
And which is one of the things that people are really speaking out about. That
the process long, you see,
which is one of the things that they're talking about.
It's so difficult.
People are saying it's very, and that's why people are saying that's why people go for that baby factory thing. That because of the
doing it the legal way is stressful. Yes,
doing the legal way is very it will take you years before they.
Yes.
Wow. Why do you think baby factory?
Papers upon papers. That's why baby factory is easier. You just go and get the thing easily with your money.
That 1 year you're done.
Now this one even with your money. Yeah.
For years, 5 years, they've not given you child.
One.
As it used to be, and it doesn't mean that you even get it though. Do you understand? And that is why baby factory is moving.
It's moving.
And people are really speaking
Black
up
market,
now. I don't know. People are really speaking up that Nigeria, the government should do something about adoption. They should make sure the process is easy. Do you understand?
They just have so many children there,
so that you can get rid of all this baby factory springing up everywhere and there. Do you understand?
But I don't think a man's standard drops. So even no matter how old he gets at the end of the day, because you see, a man is, especially if he's not rich, but let me say well-to-do. The guy is well-to-do. His standard will not drop.
I think he settled.
I still want a slim babe. I still want a fair babe.
I think he settled.
I
think he settled.
He settled.
Do you know why? Men settle.
Men
settle. Even when they're not even old.
Men don't
Even when they're not
settle.
Yes.
Even when they are not old.
Yes, they
let me tell you how it works. Like when they're serious, and they're active, when they're serious,
especially when their parents are on their neck.
Yes, they settle.
Before you know, they say, I didn't like her. She got pregnant for me.
Corey, like when they're still very young.
Those days that
when they're still very young, when they're still very young and playful and they're still in the field and all, they do this girl. That's when they even have spec. When it's time to settle and they be doing that thing, they settle.
Yeah. When it's time to settle down.
Settle down.
Yes.
They settle.
They settle.
They settle for anything.
They don't settle. They pick who pays them the
most.
No, it's not settle.
That's when they settle.
I don't think that. I buy with what they are saying.
No, I don't buy what they are.
You know why? Because see, let me explain to you something.
How can you say guys?
I've had guys. Let me explain something to you. I've had guys that.
You won't be like this one ended up with this one.
When they were dating, they were like, oh, if I want to marry, see this kind of babe now, this kind of babe, this. And then finally, while they were dating, they had those kind of girls, those classic girls. And then when they're finally ready to settle, you just see the girl and they're like, I don't see why.
Guy.
How far now? But not be this kind person.
Yes.
Like what's happening?
What the guy go reply you?
You tell you say na person way I just won't deal with. Now like that person will make me happy.
Bam!
You don't drop the standard.
No, not standard.
No. You drop the standard.
You drop the standard.
You drop am. Because before you talk say my standard.
Yeah, wait till you talk. He say na person
like this.
Yeah, wait till you talk now. He say na person where I like.
He don't drop the standard. He drop in standard because
it just be like say wait. It just be like say everybody knows say I like beans. I like beans. Person can't give me ewa going. I can't dey chop ewa going. You can't say but you talk say na normal beans. Like why can't they eat ewa going? I go say I still say I like this one. Pass this one. It don't mean say I said two. It means I prefer this one to even this one. No, you not said two. It was his choice.
Because before he talk say what I want. Okay, let me use physical attributes. I want babe we get big butt, babe we get they won't come marry slim babe.
Maybe the slim,
maybe we're black. Maybe and before now fair girls we get big
butt.
But calm down. If he be say he see something for that slim babe. When you know
but the makes him say he compromise standard.
No, he not compromise. He upgrade himself. You not be compromised.
You know what? You
not be compromised.
No.
Not think am like that. He not compromise anything.
Okay, so why is he chasing? Why is he flirting with that his spec outside?
They will not be like.
Why is he flirting with his spec?
His spec outside.
Yes.
They will not be
like you get
like after you not come marry that one.
You not be flirting with his spec outside.
See that one?
Why?
That's a different topic that we cannot delve into now.
Okay, good.
Men naturally, no matter what,
they like
promiscuous by nature.
Okay. How?
We have discussed this issue.
We don't discuss them before. Now I say more not delve into this thing deeply. More not delve into them deeply.
Let's not go into it.
There is a very high probability for a man, even a married man, to still look outside at the end of the day. Because men, our eye know they stay one place. Now so it be. No, not a loose man. Now so it be. It takes the grace of God, serious grace of God, serious grace of God.
If not because
for a man,
religious belief.
Like serious grace of God.
Because of religious belief, if not because of religious belief, and then some form of morality, no be lie. Virtually all men.
Oh, that's like inbuilt, inbuilt.
No, I'm not saying it's not
wrong. So why is it there now? So why is it there? Why is it there?
It's not.
I agree. It is inbuilt. It just depends on the man's character and the way he's willing to discipline himself.
That's where I want to come from.
And the percentage of men who are willing to discipline themselves that way is very, 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 very low.
So you're trying to tell me
I'm not saying there are such men who that exist.
No, like you're trying to say it's a natural thing. So it now takes a man with extra effort to actually overcome that natural
thing. Yes, it's true. Very, very true.
Very true. Very true, Korede.
What I want to say is that all this one that you're saying men.
Well, let's
human.
not leave the main topic.
That's human as a woman too, as a man.
That
It's
thing is
human
there.
nature to want to I don't know how to say
explore, right?
Explore.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Explore.
So let's come back
but
to the main
you
topic.
as a personal, it's just like, do you not think of bad things?
Yes, we all do.
We all do.
Good.
Do you do them?
No.
So it's not gender based.
So it's not gender based.
No.
It's
Sorry,
it
what's
takes an individual.
the ratio of married women who cheat?
No, that's
Like no, wait. Like to you, like how many percentage of married women?
See,
no, like
women
based
are
based on the experiences the little experience you have
men.
from what you've seen so far.
Yes, ratio of women to
What
men.
me I've been hearing, I think it's even 50-50 or 60-40.
No, right now, yes, because
Right
I
now,
thought
maybe
before.
50-50.
Let's use before. Yes.
Because people are like, oh, this thing, you know, as a married woman, maybe it was like 30 to or 40 to 60, you understand? But now with what is going on, with what we are hearing out there,
you just wake up and all your kids are not even your own, and you think you're being cheated.
So that's why I said that it's not gender based. That cheating thing is not gender based.
It's just
not
that.
like this thing. But you as an individual, you're going to make the decision and no, I don't want to cheat. And that was why I gave the example. We all think of bad things in our, by ourselves. Do you understand? But you know, do we all do we do that?
Man, I know what I'm
no.
saying. It doesn't mean that me I will
Because
cheat
we
if I
have
get married.
it's an inbuilt.
Me,
We
I
have
know
the
what I'm saying.
morality that corrects it that no, you cannot do this.
No, not really. Not really.
Okay, so let's go back to the main topic.
Not really.
We need to discuss.
Let's come back to the
We'll
main
discuss
topic.
that later. But
Yes.
not really. No.
To the main topic.
I
The
don't
main
agree with
topic.
you. I don't agree with
Now
you.
we're coming back to the main topic.
The main topic, back to the main topic. I was saying that men don't drop their standards no matter how old they get.
They do.
If men drop
To
their
the
standards,
last,
you won't see
they
60-year-old men getting married to 20-something-year-old babes.
Wrong.
They do.
You won't see 40-something-year-old
Wait, do you think he's
you won't see
getting married to the
40-something-year-old
20-year-old
guy.
girl because
When
that's
not be
the
say you get
standard.
money like that too, but you go say I go marry better 26, 27-year-old babe. Where you go look and say, guy, how you think get this babe?
No.
Are you trying to say the guy? Men don't settle.
Men settle.
Men
No.
settle.
Men settle
I
a lot.
Men don't
Men
settle.
settle a lot.
They settle a lot.
What I
It's
would say
obvious
is
now, like,
the preference for men change.
so
Not
which
that
one-
they settle.
Why are we
What
using
are
different
women?
diction? Why are we changing?
Why are we changing the-
Why are we like
You know-
settle
you know-
and
what?
preference?
No, there's
Why
a
we-
diff-
why are we saying
There
settle
are two
and
different
preference?
words. Settling
What
and
influences preference?
When
to
it comes
make
when it
yes,
comes to
preference.
men,
We
it's
all have-
preference. When it comes to
Men
women, it's
settle.
settling.
Men
Yeah.
settle.
Why is the
Men-
diction changing for men and
settle.
women?
No.
Men settle. Women settle.
Why is
Men
the
don't
language
settle.
changing?
Men don't settle.
Men
That
settle
one,
more than
men
women.
settle.
Hey! Stop it!
I don't even know that
Kai.
one. But I know that men settle.
Men.
Kai, Erica, stop it.
Why not?
Kai! Stop that one. Stop
Men
it.
Men
settle.
settle.
That's the
Men
men
settle.
settle.
Me, I feel men
Do you know that
settle.
it's appalling? It's appalling how they settle.
Now our
You
taste,
understand?
now our
It's
taste
appalling.
is
It's
different.
appalling.
In fact,
It's appalling
Joanne,
how
I
they
taste
think
is
you're
different.
turning towards what
Can
you
you just
said.
calm
I
down?
think
Can
it's
you
how
just
you're
calm
appalling
down?
how
That
men settle.
Yeah.
Like to the
I
last.
think it's true. I'm
No
turning
boxes
towards what
at
you
six.
said.
They just settle.
They just
Okay,
settle.
wait.
No boxes
John.
at six.
Let me ask you a question now. You know a guy now, for example, that he's always carrying fine babes every time. He did date fine babes, he did punch fine babes. Then he can't talk say he won't marry. You can't say the wife he won't marry ugly. To you, he settled, Abi? Yes or no?
He
lie.
settled now.
Because he
when you look at
don't dey carry
everything,
fine babes. But when he won't come marry, now ugly baby
he
carry.
settled because he's
Eh?
not going to be cheating on her. He
Yes.
settled.
They will not go and be cheating on
So
this.
what's
kind
the use
their
of
kind
him
girl.
settling when he still has
now.
those fine babes at his beck and call?
Eh,
Doesn't that tell you he didn't settle?
that tells me
When
that
you
he's
see when we are
confused.
talking of settling, no,
Okay,
it's not
what-
confused.
no.
See, when we are talking of settling, we are saying this guy does not have a choice again. He just has to make do with what he has. That's my own understanding of settling. That he not get any choice. No other person there for him except this person.
So
But these other people still there. That is not settling.
Still the
He
same
made his choice. He decided, oh, I've seen all this fine babes.
Really?
Now this
I
ugly
want
one I
to
want pick.
It's a lie.
That's not
There are
what-
two
that's
girls
not
that
settling.
settle. They be like, oh, time don't they go.
well,
like
She don't
guys,
do this
she don't
thing.
dey
Make I
disturb
just do
me.
one.
Almost
Make I
this,
just do
and
one.
na this girl gree
And na
like
this
no
one
time.
And that's
All
not
want this
settling.
thing.
It's settling.
That's not
You
settling. That's
settle.
not settling. Because the guy, you know, go
That's
carry
not
person where you
settling.
know like put for house now.
That's still settling.
Eh?
So
You
women,
man go you go carry person where you know like put for house. Even if they dey pressure
Are you
you.
kidding?
him.
Plenty
That's
guys
him.
don't do them now.
That's
When they know like
Yes.
or anything.
Yes.
Put for house.
Yes.
Like a kind of
yes,
like
yes.
let's say like let me use
Why do
one.
we
Let
hear
me
all
use
these
one.
chronicles? Why
Let
do
me
we
use
hear
one.
about
Wait, let me use
everybody
one. Let me
complaining
use
every-
one. Well, I know. It was a royal family. and the rule of the royal family.
Wait,
not the same thing. Wait,
different.
and the rule of the royal family is any girl when you give belle outside.
Yes,
you have to marry her by force. That's still settling.
No, that was different. I'm talking of an instance where a guy has a choice.
What about guys?
No family obligation.
What about guys that they had
no cultural obligation.
And then the girl ended up getting pregnant, and then they were like, "Oh, there's nothing you can do. You have to marry our daughter."
Who says so? And they will not force the girl to marry her.
Doesn't happen. Say it doesn't happen.
No, I know it happens.
So what were you trying to say?
I know it happens, but that one you can't. Well, maybe you can say it's settled, based on what happened. Based on what happened. It is based on what happened that it's settled.
However you want to spin it.
You're trying to streamline. You're trying to box this conversation. You're trying to streamline. You're talking choices. You're talking settling side by side choices. These are certain actions that they have carried out that influence their choice to settle.
Wait, John, let me ask
but
you.
Eventually,
let me ask you this question now. When someone is settling, when you say someone settles, does that person have a choice or not? Does he have a pool to pick from?
In some cases, yes.
Yes.
And he settles.
Yes, and he settles.
Yes.
That's not true.
Yes.
That is true.
When someone settles, it means you don't have a choice. You just have to pick that person. You talk say this person give person belle. He no get choice. They don't tell him say you must marry him. You must marry him. He no get choice.
He had a girlfriend, but he just had a one-night stand.
And the girl now got pregnant.
Yes,
he doesn't have a choice because
he
himself, I'm sure,
his
family members, all of them would have already told him that, Ogbeni, you don't give this girl belle. You must marry her. He doesn't have a choice.
No,
as far as he is concerned. But what I'm saying is, you can't compare it with a guy now. Where we say the example I gave earlier. You have fine babes. He now went to carry an ugly babe.
It happens.
He made his choice that okay, I don't want any of this fine babe.
Why?
I want this one.
Why? Meanwhile, those
probably
girls
he saw that this one will be a good wife. She'll give me peace of mind. She'll be able to cook for me. She will answer to my beck and call.
So,
unlike all these other ones. And he decided to choose her.
Okay,
that is not settling.
Okay, so what's okay?
He made his choice.
So what's happening? What is going on in marriages whereby the men they were like, I didn't like. I just married her because she was just available.
Yes.
What's going on there?
Because she was available.
Yes.
I've not heard that one before.
You have not heard because she was available.
You will not hear
like I just married the girl.
I married the girl because she was available.
I've even seen a scenario
I know
like
you
that.
say you've not heard it before.
No, I'm not honest. I've not heard it. That she was just available. I don't understand.
Available to be married.
Available to be married.
Yes.
That's why I not married her.
There's no certainty that because you have a particular spec or something, it doesn't mean that you are going to eventually find somebody to get married to.
Men settle.
Women settle. I agree that women settle.
Men settle.
Because to a certain extent, they don't have that luxury of a choice to pick and say,
why?
You think
as they age,
like fine wine.
Most times, let me tell you something. Shut up. Yes. Yes, they do. Yes. Let me tell you something.
I'm not talking to you.
Some of those girls, do you think that maybe they don't have any girl that is asking them out? It's because they probably just not seen their choice.
Aging.
Yes.
At 36.
Yes.
Because they've not seen their choice.
Yes. 45.
Why is it impossible?
What are you talking about?
Are you kidding me?
It's not as if maybe there's nobody asking. It's just somewhere it's shady.
Don't let these girls come on. We already won comfort. Don't let them win you, please. No.
I've seen it play out.
I've seen it play out. So what you're trying to say that when you're 45, you cannot get married again?
Who? As a woman.
35, 36,
you don't have the luxury.
You do. You have a choice.
You do.
You don't.
You can make a choice.
You
can reject proposals.
You reject proposals. You go dead there at 45. You go dead there. You go old.
See, let me tell you something.
You go old at 45. Any man will come meet that woman. She go marry.
Even at 45, there are some men you can't get married to. Even at 45,
I'm saying, but at that point, you don't see.
You know what? Emmanuel, I think the image of the lady you are painting is maybe 13th century or something.
Yeah,
if you're thinking of modern women these days,
they
cannot be talking like this.
They would not care.
In Africa,
they would rather remain
in Africa, Nigeria. It's not true.
Now lie.
Don't say that.
Now lie. Now lie.
To that part, yes.
Emmanuel,
lie.
It's
a lie. We have not reached that point. We have not gotten to that point.
Are you kidding me?
Nigeria, we have not.
Nigeria,
we have not.
We have.
Whoa.
I don't understand.
Are you kidding me?
It's just the few ones that people are looking up to as celebrities.
celebrity.
We kidded you now.
I'm not
a lie. I don't agree.
These are not even celebrities. These are not even celebrities.
The image of women you are painting in your mind is affecting you.
There's nothing like that. I said your family cannot even allow you at that stage.
Family don't allow you. Say make you just say.
How many women do you think can stand family pressure? How many? Can you stand? Even you.
Yes, I can.
You've not faced it.
Yes,
if you faced it, you will know.
Dude, yes, I can.
Once you get to that point, I'll know if you can.
Man, face it. Man will face pressure.
You not face family pressure. Can you face family pressure?
Men don't know how to stand pressure.
Hey, Jesus!
Men! Especially when they are bomb.
Joanne keeps shooting this gun this evening. Boom.
Men do not like
this one. We're not agreeing with this one.
Boom.
If you're talking of anybody that stands pressure.
Please,
if you're talking
who
about
are
that
those people
stands
that
pressure.
easily succumb? They could have been dating a girl for like 10 years and then
before
their
you know,
mom comes and says, look, and they cannot do like, my mom is on my neck, she's standing on my neck, I can't help me, and please, she wants her, she found her, and they'll be like, I said, you don't be like, are you telling me that you cannot stand and defend our relationship? Be like, you don't understand how my mom is. Men cannot stand pressure. Men cannot stand pressure.
Now women that thing they catch the most now. Not men.
Women are more strong.
What do you to call this thing? What do you use to call it name? My mom said in Igbo. Name C or something. Mom C. This thing. My mom said.
You put
Anna Bradley. My mom said.
One Igbo man told you that. Oh shit.
Women are more strong-hearted than men. Men do not have the wherewithal to
especially when their moms start coming to tell them that see this woman. She's not from the
city
same
woman.
She's a city woman. City woman that will come
that will not be following other men. Look how she's dressing.
See how she's dressing.
No, but he'll not be like, but I've been dating her.
It's like the picture people are painting is the 13th century picture.
Modern men, look at them. Modern men like you and Sheyi. Modern men.
Like who's me and Sheyi from
where? Can you stand your mom's pressure?
My mom's pressure.
Can you stand her pressure?
My dear, see.
If she stands on your neck, can you stand?
Wait, let me tell you. I quarreled with my parents for months. I wasn't picking their call because of a babe, not from